to Menspiration on Lead Africa TV. Hello and welcome to another episode of Menspiration, the men's show geared towards talking about the issues confronting the modern man. The three of you, looking back, what kind of guidance did you get about masculinity? I'll start with you, Patrick, because I think you started a conversation around that. What were the kind of guidance you got from the adults and caregivers in your life?
Well, I think they were all pushing you to want to. Again, the issue was comparing you to other people.
Okay.
Comparing you to your uncles who have succeeded, they are working here, and of course, some of them made sense. For instance, I remember when I finished sixth form, I said I went to do 1 year computer programming diploma, and then I was excited when I got my certificate. And I went to my uncle. My uncle said that this one is just a tool, or just a tool. Move on, So I was excited because I thought I was from there. I was going to work, and he said, "No, young man, no, please, it's just a tool." So now I changed my perspective, and then I went to the university. So I think that some of the things, they mean well, they actually meant well. Our parents meant well, our uncles meant well, that they feel that they are making you tougher. Of course, some of the things, yes, we needed to be tough to be able to understand and go through the rudiment of life. But at a certain point in time, you also need to appreciate the fact that you need both. You need the positive and the negative, if you will. You need a male and a female, So you can't have two plugs and then be able to. You need a plug and you need a socket, as it were. So I think that I came to a place where I realized that yes, I have been influenced negatively in some of the areas, but I needed to work on myself. Of course, when we became self-aware and we became exposed and we began to read wider and we began to be mentored by people and opening ourselves to learning, this journey of learning, then a lot of the things made sense. And then also when we began going deeper into the scriptures as well, a lot of the things began to make sense as well, so that now your life is actually shaped not by what you were told or what you were shaping us to become, but then you have become much more functional and much more, responsive to the times, to the family, to the people around you today.
Would you say that the push and the pressure to fulfill the man's provision role, get a good job, have a family, take good care of them, would you say that it has created a negative impact of a lot of modern men focusing too much on work, and leaving the other roles they need to play?
I think, Michael, there are other people too who you have told them work, and they are not working. And they are also, we have that lazy bunch as well, who they are also not working, and they are just there, and then there's the woman who goes out there and brings everything, and then they are just sitting down, reading graphic, and eating comic ekina, and things like that, But I think that every society has a way of socializing its people. So yes, I mean, there are, in driving people, sometimes we don't even do that based on people's strength, based on even understanding who people are, their background, their personalities, and all. We don't do it based on any insight. We just do that because you are a child, you are a son. So do it this way, do it that way, without recourse to any of the things that I've mentioned. But then apart from the positives, of course, some of the things, sometimes it can make people feel, have this issue of identity crisis, because they've been told to do something and they don't seem to match up, so they want to fulfill their manhood or their masculinity through work, and therefore they leave the family, they leave their other responsibilities. So I believe that we need to do all, first of all, like when we do the wheel of life, we need to ensure that you are not only taking care of your work, you're taking care of your finances, you're taking care of your family, your spouse, the romance part, you're taking care of your children and all. Everything is important. But you see, on the scale, there are things that are more important than others. Okay. Example, your work. When you lose your work today, you can recover. Yeah. But when you lose your family, something can be difficult to recover. True. And that is the reason why, in terms of scaling, we should be able to know what comes first, what is important. And I learned a very bitter lesson many years ago. I was going to deliver a church youth group. And then when I was going, my wife said that, okay, drop my son at when he was going to learn how to play the organ. And I said, no, he's delaying me. I'm in a hurry. I have to be there on time. And I rushed. I didn't drop him because I felt that I was running late. And I got there. When I got there, guess what, Michael? I waited and waited. The program did not even come on.
Wow.
And then I'm asking myself, what did I do to my son? From that day, I said, no way. There is no way I will place anything above family. So there was a time I had a very good a program on one day, but that was the same day my daughter was graduating. I said, go to hell with the training. I went to my daughter's graduation, and I could see the excitement and the beauty. So I think that we need to change our perspective about,
because children live by experiences.
Yes.
Memories.
Yeah.
It is not just about the checks.
Yes.
It's not just about the big houses and the number of sneakers.
Exactly.
But also the memories that they are creating with daddy and mommy.
Yeah.
Robert, you wanted to say something?
I mean, Michael, this is an important topic we're discussing it, and I think it has so many components we need to pay attention to as men. As I said in the beginning, my experience is not something I want to offer as a model or as an example, but these are the issues I can raise for all of us to think about, because there are things you saw from your parents and that were good and served them at the time, in their time, in their day, and they were good. You bring them today and they are not good. It won't help you. So we can't actually, even for the good things, copy it wholesale.
No.
We can't.
Going back to earlier model, the context has
The
changed.
context has changed. So even though they're good, so we really have to be mindful. I mean, of course, we have to honor them and celebrate them for their role in our lives. And I can boldly say probably that's the end.
The honor. That's where it stops.
Yes, we honor and celebrate them. That's the end.
Yes.
And we find our own path. Not necessarily even saying their experience, the models they showed to us at the time, when the context has changed.
Well, that was a baseline.
Yes.
That was serve as a baseline.
So we really have to be mindful. I mean, and in that case, I mean, because we're all Christians, we go to scripture. And maybe that's what helped me. Because, I mean, even though my family was stable, was celebrated, and the other type of masculinity I saw from my dad, celebrating my mom, and he will say that, Matilda, you can do everything. And celebrate. So I right from the beginning, I knew that no, we can coexist as partners, and the women can also do it all. There was no competition. So that's great. But the other part, I mean, my dad had 2 wives, and I know I was not going to do that. I won't do that. I would never do that. So
but that was the template.
That was the template.
So
I cannot give any excuse and say that this is what I saw, and this is what has influenced me. So maybe I have the inclinations and the temptations to do that. It's a lie.
You have all learned it.
It's a lie. So maybe I have to hold because we cannot give excuses. Say what this is what I saw my father do. You've grown up, so you grow up. You grow up.
You grow up.
We honor them, no matter how bad they were. We honor them and celebrate them. They did the best with the knowledge they had at the time. What do you know today, and what do you do with what you have?
As far as you know, is it that it becomes a safe harbor for a lot of men to run to when they think they're going to get stuff? Because they're like, oh, well, my dad did this, and me, I don't know how to do it. Me, I come from Teshi, so I'm not romantic.
It's a safe harbor
for a lot of men.
Yes, we have decided, and it's comfortable. Yes, it's comfortable. It's a cocoon we can go in safely, close the door, and hide. and hope that nobody will demand better of us. Because you can be forgiven for the experience you had. But that can be.
I mean, from what Robert is saying, study shows that when men or anyone is stressed beyond a particular point, they go into the fetal curve. When they go into bed, they curl up like they are in the womb. That is the most comfortable memory they can bring up. So when the stress level is too high, they will curl up. So we go back to what we have learned from our parents, observed from our parents, and we say, my dad did it this way, right? But for any man who says, my dad did it this way, they are struggling with identity. Because even if I go to scripture, and Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, so far from what I've read, it only asks you to honor your parents. It doesn't tell you to love them. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you to let them rule over you. It says honor them.
Honor and respect.
Right? So to respect them and to honor them, literally all you're doing is because it was one aha moment. That's why you're here. But after a while, we now need to take responsibility for who we are. Yeah. And this is where the idea of looking out, when men talk together, you know, let me go back a little bit. When I was in the UK, a lot of my friends would say, hey, do you have a black book? And I was SU from a very young age. So I didn't like wasting sin. I had to learn how to identify what the sin was and see if I could not do it. Me not do it. To see if I could do it. And then I can go back and pray for forgiveness. But here we are. And my friend said, the black book. And I said, what's a black book? He said, oh, every young man must have a black book.
Wow.
And this is where you record all your exploits.
Wow.
And you grade.
Wow.
She was a 1, she was a 10.
Wow.
And you can describe it. Because one day, certain parts of your body will not respond as it did when you were 18. So you can pick up that book and you can read and memories come out. So I heard that advice. And I thought, okay, sounds like a good idea. The pull for me was I knew my identity is in Christ. So once I looked at it and I listened to all the reasons, it didn't align with me. Now, I love my dad. He was a great man. But my dad was very adventurous. He didn't dare have 2 wives. But he dared so. Does that mean because of all the other different shapes out there, I forget that I've made a vow to my wife, and so. So, when I understood who I was, first identifying myself as a son of my parents. So I have the family name to protect, a legacy I needed to build upon. But then what superseded that was understanding my identity as a son of God.
I love that.
And once I knew who I was as a son of God, then what Robert says is right. Why will I now compromise who I am for a 4-second pleasure?
Burst of emotion.
I'm not saying the temptations are not there. They come to all of us. None of us are immune to it.
Yeah.
It is not the temptation itself. It's what we do when we are tempted. So this masculinity that we saw, we could see in some of our fathers, some of the weak areas, or should I say, well, I won't call it growth areas, but some of the weak areas they displayed.
Yeah.
And we could see the effect on our mothers. That is not positive masculinity. The whole WHO and the world system is empowering young women. And what do? They end up marrying, forgive me men, foolish men. Because of our ego, because of our insecurities, because we're scared. You marry a woman who is more knowledgeable than you, earning more money than you, and then you're upset. It's because you have not identified who you are. So even if I take the religion out, your identity is important. And if you, once you can understand who you are, it's amazing how you are able to navigate life based on that identity.
You've all given really powerful nuggets. So we are in agreement that our socialization has given us a certain default attitude about life,
Yes.
and giving us a certain template about masculinity. But you are saying that we can unlearn it.
Yes.
We should not let the past become a prisoner of the present. And to do that, one, we need to know our identity, and then we need to be able to willing to change the identity, because the template doesn't fit where we are today. And so if you are a man and you are watching this podcast, stop saying, you know, as for me, that's how I am. You know, as for me, that's how I grew up. That those are defeatist statements. It does not allow you to grow. You need to learn not to let the past hold you ransom in the present. Because if you look at yourself and your relationships are struggling, are suffering, and yet you hold on to that past identity, that Pentium 2, which is not serving you in the iPad generation, you need to change. Because Robert has every excuse to have 3 wives. Actually 4, because if his dad did 2, then he would have done 4, by the power of exponential. But he's saying and telling us that he has no excuse. He should not become a prisoner of the past. We should not hold or confiscate our future simply because of the actions and inactions of our parents. So stop using that as a ticket, and stop using that as a harbor to run to. If any part of this felt uncomfortable, that's okay. Growth usually is. This conversation is not about getting it right. It's about getting it honest. Because when men start asking better questions, they start leading better lives. If this spoke to you, like, subscribe to the channel, comment below, and share it with another man. Let's keep the conversation going. This is Menspiration. This is Lead Africa TV. And this is how we begin to lead differently.